In today's video, I'm talking about the 9 scientifically proven reasons you're depressed and anxious. If you're going through depression and anxiety, I have a book that I highly recommend you read. This book made me see my depression and anxiety in a whole different light and helped me to control it. This amazing book is called Lost Connections: Why You're Depressed and How to Find Hope by Johann. To write the book, Johann traveled 40,000 miles all around the world to interview leading experts on depression and anxiety to determine exactly what causes it and what we can do to solve it. The reason I think this book is so important and why I'm making a video on it is because it challenges the popular belief that our depression and anxiety is simply caused by chemical imbalances in our head and factors that we just can't control. But this book challenges that view and says that there are many factors that we can control and that are causing our depression and anxiety. I'm going to give you a summary of Lost Connections and discuss the real reasons that you might be depressed and anxious. Johann begins Lost Connections by shattering the traditional viewpoint that our depression and anxiety is simply caused by the chemical imbalances in our head. Typically, doctors jump to prescribing their patients with antidepressants without even exploring the factors in the patient's life which may be causing the depression and anxiety. I too have experienced this. At age 18, I was quickly prescribed an antidepressant called escitalopram, and I've been on it for 10 years. Johann found that at first, the antidepressants can have a positive effect on anxiety and depression. However, over time, these depressive and anxiety symptoms come back, despite gradually upping the dose. This is something I can attest to and that I've experienced in my own personal life. As well as the anxiety and depression returning after a period of time, antidepressant medication can also have numerous side effects, such as weight gain, sleep disturbances, and it may even increase your anxiety and depression. From Johann's journey all around the world, talking to leading experts on depression and anxiety, he discovered that there are 9 scientifically proven reasons for depression and anxiety, with shockingly only 2 being biological. Johann found that most of the factors that cause our depression and anxiety come from the way we live. Today, many of us are not meeting our psychological needs. The book importantly states that we need to stop talking less about chemical imbalances and more about imbalances in the way we live. Many people suffering from depression and anxiety are solely prescribed medication without any of their psychological needs being met first. Reading Johann's work and watching some interviews and things that he's been on really blew my mind, because my whole life I'd been told that my depression and anxiety was solely chemical imbalances in my head and there was nothing I could do to solve them. What really shocked me from reading this book is many of the experts on depression and anxiety stated that the antidepressant medicine doesn't work for the majority of people with depression and anxiety. Only a small percentage of people will actually benefit from using antidepressants. And the crazy thing is, a lot of these big pharmaceutical companies who are selling the antidepressant medicines are the ones responsible for the research into it. So what Johann found was there might be 1,000 studies on the efficacy of an antidepressant, with 900 of them saying it doesn't really work for people. But if there's 100 studies saying that it does work for a small amount of people, they'll use that and make it seem like these antidepressants can help cure all of the depression, because it's going to make them money. Of course. So what are the 9 psychological needs that we need to meet to crush our depression and anxiety? Lost Connections describes each need in detail. The first reason for depression and anxiety is a disconnection from meaningful work. For the majority of us, most of our time is spent working. So if you don't have a job that gives you meaning and purpose and that you don't enjoy, this is definitely going to cause you depression and anxiety. It is so important that you find a job that gives you some sense of meaning and purpose. Reason number 2 is a disconnection from other people. We are in the midst of a loneliness epidemic as people. We as humans are meant to have a tribe together, but in today's society, many of us have become lonely and isolated from each other. This is a major cause for depression and anxiety in today's society. Disconnection from meaningful values. We live in a machine that is designed to make us neglect what is important about life. We are constantly told by marketing and media that the most important things are materialistic things, like having houses, having big cars, having the new fashion. The most important things are family and friends. This is causing a lot of depression and anxiety because it makes us feel hollow inside. It is not what makes us happy. Disconnection from childhood trauma. A lot of us have been through psychological and physical abuse, which severely contributes to our depression and anxiety. Disconnection from status and respect. It has been scientifically proven that if you aren't getting any respect at your job, and you don't have any kind of status, you're highly likely to become depressed and anxious. Disconnection from the natural world. Like I said earlier about having tribes and people around us, we are also meant to have nature. Nature provides us with a whole lot of happiness and joy. In today's society, many of us live in massive cities, apartment buildings, and we very rarely see nature that much. We are rarely needing to get back to nature. Nature provides us with a lot of happiness. Reason number 7. Disconnection from a hopeful and secure future. With the cost of living skyrocketing, housing prices going through the roof, and job insecurity at an all-time high, many people have an unsecure future, and this is severely causing depression and anxiety in today's society. The last 2 reasons are the biological reasons, the reasons that have been talked about the most and that have been commonly accepted as the main cause of depression and anxiety. There are 2 biological reasons. The first biological reason is that depression and anxiety can be inherited from your parents or your grandparents. Around 30% of people with depression and anxiety have inherited it. However, the research states that although you may have inherited your anxiety and depression, the environment around you needs to trigger it. This is important because you aren't just simply born with depression and anxiety. There needs to be a trigger in your external environment that makes you more depressed and anxious. The research states that there is only a small amount of people who actually do have chemical imbalances with their brain. This is a small population. The second biological reason is when you are depressed, your brain will change. This is called neuroplasticity. Your brain will become used to being depressed and anxious. So it will change, thinking that it will stay like this forever. This is why getting out of depression and anxiety can be difficult, because your brain has formed these patterns that are used to the depression and anxiety. In summary, your genes can make you more susceptible to depression and anxiety, but it doesn't write your destiny. And there are changes in the brain that occur which can make it harder to get out of depression and anxiety. After reading Lost Connections, I felt really happy and hopeful, a feeling I hadn't felt in a very long time, because it made me feel like I could actually do something to help my depression and anxiety. Instead of just passing it off as something biological and, oh, it sucks for me, it's just going to be like this forever because it's in my brain. Now I could actually do something about it. I could take the power back into my own hands and take somewhat of a life audit and go through every aspect of my life and think, maybe there are things I can actually improve on. I could see more friends. I can maybe find a job that is better suited to me and I could do something that I actually enjoy. I could spend more time in nature, and I went through all the lists of things that are scientifically proven to make us feel more depressed and anxious, and I noted things that I could do to improve it. And that really helped me, and I hope you can kind of look through your life and see if there are things that you can improve too to make you feel a bit better. Obviously, sometimes people do have biological factors that do cause them to be depressed and anxious, but I think it's not talked about enough, all the things in our lives that do make us feel depressed and anxious that we can control and work towards. So I highly recommend reading Lost Connections and watching Johann Hari's TED Talk. I've linked it in the description, and I'll see you back here next time. Thanks, guys.